My name is
Hi.
Trudy,
And my name is Angel.
and welcome to the show. Today is episode 76, and we're talking about the death
Death
row, the death
penalty.
sentencing, death penalty, what other names it has, condemned row. And it is a level 5 elephant. It's serious. I mean, there's two sides to this. It's a people are for it, people are against it. Should we start with the definition so then we could get on with the show? And the definition is death row, also known as condemned row or death penalty, is a place in a prison that houses inmates awaiting execution after being convicted of a capital crime and sentenced to death. How do you feel about this subject?
It's a very sensitive subject because regardless who you talk to, it's either I'm for it, I'm against it, or mm, 50-50. I'm not saying it's only the three, but that's what I've come across. People who strongly for say, you know what, you killed 16 people in a building, you deserve to die. And then there's the person where it's either against it because of mm, I don't believe in it because who are we to play God?
Right.
Or you get the I I don't think it's right to murder a man because he committed murder.
Right.
And for the one that's in the middle, it's a matter of it's kind of hard sometimes to determine if a person deserves a death penalty because the crime changes. Regardless, it's like two men did the same crime, but this guy gets death and the other one didn't. So it's like it's a touchy subject. So it's like I don't really know in terms of the neutral person.
Well, I think I fall under the 50-50 because for me, there needs to be evidence, enough evidence, actually, that this person was in the actual crime. Like they're the ones that committed the murder. I mean, I am also in the whole 50-50. Like, should we play God? Like, eye for an eye type thing. So I don't know. It's a hard thing to decide. Like, yeah, this is the evidence. Should they deserve death for killing another human? That's where the question lies. Who are we to say, yes, they deserve death?
Because sometimes the reasoning, I'm not justifying anyone killing anyone, but sometimes the reason why a person killed another person is self-defense. I was protecting myself, I was protecting my family, I was protecting another human being. Should you give him, her, them like the death penalty? Should you?
See, in that
So
case,
it's
I
like a
don't.
gray line.
Right. I personally, in that instance, I will be like, no, no death penalty because they weren't defending themselves. But if they cold blooded killed a child or a person, anybody, purposefully, and they have no remorse, and they're, I don't know, I just feel like maybe depending on how heinous the crime was. I don't know.
No,
How do
I
you
get it.
how do you guys feel about it? I mean, because I know that most people be in the same boat like we are, like, you know, who are we to play God type thing. But just shares your opinions with us so we could, like, I don't know, do a
Get
poll.
gets like we get in order for us to understand how you feel about it, let us know how you think, what you feel is. Do you even care about the subject? Is it something that we should even pay attention to? Should we just let the death penalty idea ride? Should it be a yay to keeping it, a nay for at least the US to keep it or not? Just let us know how you feel about that.
And as we were talking earlier, like we were wondering why the death row like takes so long. Remember that how we were wondering
Yeah.
why does it take 30 plus freaking years for somebody to get executed? And I figure out what is because there is a complex and time consuming appeals procedures that goes on and on and on for many years, because they will appeal the case several times, you know. But I think that that's a good idea, to find enough evidence to make sure that this is the correct person.
For me, it's not necessarily of if it's a good idea or not. It's just, say the person didn't do it, but they're on death row. That will mess up with their psyche all
Right.
throughout. So this person, I'm on death row, I'm gonna be killed, they're gonna kill me. It's the fact that it's death row. If the person wasn't supposed to be there, regardless if you let that person go, that is still going to be on their mind. I was an innocent man. They put me on death row. I could have died by some chance.
Right.
I was not taken out before, and someone said, we're going to help your case. We're going to look at this. And that's why I'm free. But that doesn't mean it's not going to affect them to the point where, oh, they constantly get therapy. So I do believe that there should be a little work on that idea. You gave a person was charged for a crime. The person probably was charged for killing two people when they didn't do it, brutally killing and everything. But it's like, okay, you don't have enough evidence to say that this person did it or not. Should it be death row? Should it be life? Or should you guys create something different? Because there's a gray area of, we don't know if you're supposed to be anywhere at this point. You're in limbo. You don't want to mess up the person's psyche just because you guys don't have enough evidence. You don't have enough anything to say he killed one, he killed both, or he killed anyone.
Right. Well, I say that for me because it will give enough time for them to find evidence if the person was indeed guilty or not. And then I have seen cases where they have found evidence way before the death penalty, before they got executed, and they were actually innocent. But because it took
Right. I think
forever.
I saw a situation where, or maybe not saw, heard of a situation where a person was going to be given the lethal injection. Right when they were about to do it, they told him, yo, don't do it. Stop. We got a phone call. We can't go through with it because they found X, Y, and Z about the person. So let's hold off. Person did not get executed that day. Now, in certain situations like that, it might be, oh, you're not going to get executed that day. You may get it on another day, or they'll extend it. But there's so many close calls where, oh, we're waiting for that phone. And then there's that one person or that two person or 60 people who were waiting for that phone, and that phone never rang. And then 2, 3, 15 weeks later, oh, turns out he was innocent. She was innocent. The close calls that's like heart attack right there. Like, I waited for that phone. I almost got injected. They were about to give me everything. I was about to go.
And I think that this is the case, that they wait for all these appeals and it takes up to 20, 30 years for something like this. Because you remember what we were talking about, that boy named George Stinney Jr., that he
Yeah,
was, 14 years old, who got convicted for a crime of killing two white girls in the 1940s.
yeah,
He was wrongly executed. Like, he was the electric chair, and in 2017 or something, it was found that he was innocent. The boy was the youngest in American history to be executed at age 14, and he didn't commit the crime. But at that time, they didn't have any of the things they have today, any of the procedures that they have today, and
yeah.
in ways to do certain things. And I think that, trying to find as much evidence as possible for you to make sure that this is the right person
That is important
is
because in a situation like that, it's evident that they wanted him to get that sentence.
right.
In certain situations, I do understand why. they would put the person on death row. You never know. It could be a way of also protecting this individual as well. But in his case, I would have said at least having him on death row and figuring out if you should execute. One, he's underage. It
Right.
does not. If a person was to commit a crime at age 12, their mental capability different, right? That's what individual, some studies say. If that was the case, or if that's what was being said, why wasn't that used at that time? I don't know if it was said at that time, but why wasn't that, you know, they grabbed onto that saying, well, he's a young boy. We don't know if he did it or not.
Well, you also have
Despite
to.
his skin color, despite whatever the situation, and I understand the year that he
1940s,
went through
yeah.
that could have been the reason. But still, it's like we don't know if he did it. And if he did do it, we want to make sure so that other kids understand this is what you could potentially get if you do a crime like this. But still, hold off. He already got arrested, age 14, for something that big. That'll
Right.
be under his name forever if it turns out he did it.
Right. I mean, again, like you said, it deals with the time is the 1940s. Segregation is still happening. There were two white girls. He was a black boy. They found the bodies, like, what was it, 2 blocks or something away from his home, like whatever the case was. And that's it. What evidence did you have to point that he did it? But yeah, that was a very sad and tragic, unfortunate thing that happened. And hopefully everybody's learning from that huge mistake, you know and
Definitely.
because now everybody's not, no one's paying for that. See, now this is another question that I had. So they wrongfully, like, executed this 14-year-old boy. Now what? nobody gets
No,
nobody gets
nobody,
involved.
we can't
Nobody,
go
what
in the
happens?
past and say, okay, whoever was involved, let's catch those people. That's one. That's the first thing I'd want to do. Let's go catch the people who did it. Two, let's talk to the people who were on this case saying, what happened? What was the paperwork? Well, how did you write down the information? Because y'all just killed this boy like this. What do you have on file for this?
Right. It was like in 2014 when they went, they wrote that he had not received a fair trial, and they continued to. That was 77 years ago. And there was so much that has changed, obviously, since then. But I don't know. Like, that kind of pisses me off that they got away with unfairly, executing this person. And now
So
nobody does
yeah,
anything about it. Like, you can't sue, you can't. What can you do? This was 77 years ago. Are these people still alive? Who knows?
a
You know?
lot for me. It's like because there are so many cold cases where we got the killer, we killed the person. Turns out that wasn't the person. Turns out this. Despite that, it's the fact that if that wrongdoing that they did, you'd have to go back to every other case. You know what I mean? That case, oh snap, we killed a young boy. We shouldn't have done this crap in the first place. So now it's like, how many other cases did we have that was just like this one? They can't afford it. I don't think they would make the effort or say that they could afford to go back and do that type of error fixing. Like we have to fix everything we've done since then because I think we may have had 500 more of these.
And you know what's even worse? It says in 1944, his family buried him in an unmarked grave in hopes that his body would not be recognized, or like nobody would recognize his tombstones, so he could rest in peace. That's what his parents did, and they buried him in Canada when they were from South Carolina.
Oh wow.
I need to know if they even found who killed the girl, the two girls.
And if they found them, did they do anything about it?
Right,
Because it's one thing to find them and say, okay, this is the two people or the one person that did that, and versus this is the person or persons that did that. This is what we did to correct a mistake that we did a long time ago. Because if the parents were still alive, what did you do?
right,
Because there's nothing you can do to compensate killing their son, but at least you can admit we did an error. Because I feel like when it comes to the system, at least admit when you did wrong, because
right.
you can grow from it.
No, but like you said earlier, like there's a lot of cold cases that go unsolved for so many years, but because of technology, it helps because it's so advanced now. It does help bring out the evidence that they have and check, what is the word, like evaluate it again and make sure that they do the proper testing for it. But it goes for so many years, and according to the Google, they did find there's new details about who killed those two girls, you know. But this is crazy though, that something like this could happen. And now, again, like you said, what are the parents doing to get justice for the fact that his their kid got, basically murdered now. This goes into
Yeah.
the territory of murder because you claim that you had evidence, and there was no evidence in the 40s to point that this boy actually committed it, you know. So these and guys, this is just one example that we're using, but come on, it was a 14-year-old boy who said he was innocent into the day he died. And it's like, he is innocent, he was indeed in fact innocent. And now it's like, I need to know what kind of evidence they were showing to prove. And like I said, again, this is why the times have changed and things are implemented now where they do thorough investigation. It cannot only be substantial evidence, it has to be actual, like, the evidence to prove that this person, DNA, anything dealing with the person that murdered the other person. Other than that,
Yeah.
it will be a mistrial, you know. So
Also, keep in mind in the past where they used to have done so many types of um death, what's it called, capital punishments, be it ripping the person in five pieces or the what is it, guillotine?
mhm,
I don't know, that's hard for me to say. Guillotine, or firing squad. It's still being used today, but firing squad, stuff like that. Impalement.
mhm,
Those times, it's like the amount of evidence that was used was hardly even there
right,
at those times. Like, you know, a person could have said they didn't like, oh, burning witch trials where they
which
burned the person alive, the or being burned alive. But those times, it doesn't matter. If they didn't like you, or perhaps you were, too pretty, you were too intelligent, you were making too much money, person, all they could have said was, yo, I think Buddy right there, something's fishy about this
right,
person. And then all of a sudden, knock on door, take you, don't need
that's it.
evidence. They're just going to tell you, dude, confess.
Right,
Just confess. Never say you're innocent, because innocence, we already got you here. So you can't claim you're innocent now. You're guilty already.
right. But if you,
Confess.
they still kill
Once you
you.
con Exactly, you confess. And then after you confess, despite you being innocent and despite someone saying, no, 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 that person didn't do it, burn.
Right,
That's why we go to such great lengths, or we are supposed to go to great lengths to find the person proven, like you are innocent until proven guilty.
Right, and I think again, like we've been saying, is like this is why the laws has changed and things have changed to the magnitude that they're doing today, because it's important. And we are having 12 jurors decide this, unbiased opinions. So, and they're the ones that decide whether to give the death sentence or not. They're the ones that decide whether or not the crime that you committed, which by definition, if you murder someone, you deserve the death penalty. They will decide that, how heinous your crime was, what the hell happened, and they decide it. You know,
Or depending on the situation, there have been situations where the a case was decided by a judge solely. Now, this does not mean every case is like that,
right, right,
but most cases there is a jury where the jury does decide, and they make sure that the jury is very, let's just say they're all different in some sense, so that it's not a simply, in case of that 14-year-old boy, it was nothing but a white jury,
right, exactly.
versus in today's time it would have been a variety of individuals based on different race, different cultures, even different religious backgrounds to judge his fate.
Right, different
So,
perspectives, everybody looking at it from different angles, everybody saying, but wait, and it's true, like everybody looking at the same the same situation, everybody talking about, but wait, looking at a different angle and say, but wait, there's something missing that somebody else didn't see, and then opening it to where it gives room for more evidence or more questions to come about. Hence why sometimes the jurors take 7 hours, 8 hours, 2 days, because they can't come up with a unanimous decision of what the hell is happening. But
yeah,
then they could bring up, there's not enough evidence to prove blah 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 blah, and we need, and therefore it goes on and on with part of the trial, and it continues to whatever the hell happens afterwards, you know what I mean? But yeah, that
like to just simply, of course, no one gets burned. Suppose, well, at least not in the United States. No one is burned alive. But I'm just saying, like, it's not a matter of you're not going to be given the lethal injection or beheaded or anything like that or hung
right.
simply because this was set against you. We, even when the person is caught in the act of murder and caught in the act of whatever the crime is, there still has to have evidence in addition to.
Again, most people are against it for their own reasons, personal reasons. Some just don't think it's ethical, morally correct, um you name it, you know but I did find something that I was reading. It's like arguments against the capital punishment, and the retribution was that it says a first reminder of the basic argument behind. It says all guilty people deserve to be punished, right? Only guilty people deserve to be punished. Guilty people deserve to be punished in proportion to the severity of their crime. Okay, so if you're guilty of murder, should you die? Because the only definition for you to get death penalty, you have to have murdered someone. That is the rule in order for the death sentence to be, or coercion. I mean, what is it called?
I think one of them was treason.
That one. That's the one I'm looking at. Treason. You know, because obviously you're going against the government, so
There's
that's one of them.
there's no country where treason isn't a reason for death. I think most countries, if not every country, believes treason is worthy of death
Oh,
till this day.
definitely. So yeah, like one of those, if we go based on this, all guilty people deserve to be punished. Okay, fine. are guilty of stealing, now you're going to be in jail for 5 years because you stole something. Okay, whatever. You killed someone, you deserve to be either in prison for life or death. Like we said, the jury will determine that, and it only depends on the state that you're in. That
'Cause
death
each and
penalty.
every state gives I'm pretty sure what how a jury would think or how they would move in Florida would differ from a jury in Michigan or something like that. It's not, even the laws are a bit different in each state.
I mean, it is obviously depending who there. There's only what 32 states that carry the death penalty, I believe. I'm not too sure on that. Things have changed in a while, but yeah.
And they'll continue to change because, again, there have been states where they were for the death penalty, they abolish it, and they bring it back. So this may change where more may be for abolishing it, and then a few years down the line more are for it. So
Ooh, you bring a great point on that. So let me go read the
changes can be
statistics.
made. Okay.
Let me read the statistics so we could get something out of the way, because you do bring a great point, because Texas brought it back after a while. So
Ooh.
it says there are about 150 allegedly wrongly executed people. That's 150, way too many. As of 2020, the largest serving prisoner on death row is in the U.S. has been executed was Thomas Knight, who served over 39 years, and then he got executed. More than 8,500 people have been sentenced to death in the United States since 1970s. New death sentences have remained near record lows since 2015, after having peaked at more than 300 per year in the mid 90s. Right, that's a lot of people.
Well,
Everyday people are executed and sentenced to death by states as punishment for a variety of crimes, sometimes of acts that shouldn't be criminalized. Again, I don't know how any of you feel about people being in jail for drugs, especially weed, but if it's illegal in your state, I think those people should just be left out of jail, because all they did was get caught with a 10, a nickel, a dime, whatever you want to call it, on them, and they're in jail for just for that, for weed. Now those people that have done cocaine or embargoes and things like that, okay, I get it, those are a little bit more severe drug dealing crimes, but for weed, I don't know.
I don't know,
that's
man.
that's how that's what I think about that. It's I don't think it's fair for them to still be in there just because they got caught with weed, when now the whole state can smoke it and it's fine with them. No.
You make a good point. Make a good point. However, I feel like in some cases the reason why they would say, "Nah, man, you're in jail because, what if your stash ends up in the hand of somebody else? What if your stash ends up in the hand of somebody else and they can die from it?" 9 times out of 10, if it's that you are the person that it's yours, and then, oh, it's yours, I still have to give you a penalty because you have it, despite if it's yours or not. What if you're in your home and someone ingested it or someone took it and then they pass away? Now, if you have something, you gave it to someone and the person passes away, that's another story. It's like, one, you got punishment. Two, potentiality. It could be death, because what if it's that it's not a matter of this was just yours, but someone had a hold of it? What if it's that this is yours, but you did deal, and there were some people that you dealt to that died from it?
Right, but oof, that's just a whole ass another story onto that,
Whole nother
But
can of
if this,
beans.
but if this person never done anything wrong, but they just were doing weed and they just got caught smoking it, what is okay? And they've never had a crime in their name. They never done anything. They're not murderers. They're not anything wrong. They had a job. They're just smoking. I don't know. I personally find something to be wrong there, but that's a different story.
Different story.
Oh, see, Texas leads the nation in number of executions since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976. Texas leads the nation in the number of executions. I know Texas is a huge ass state and it has so many courts. It has over, I don't even know how many courts, 300. Like, it's so packed with so many courts that to look for one particular court, you have to go through a haystack of like more needles. Like, it's just
Oh my God.
crazy. And then you go to that state, I mean that particular county with the court, and then that court has 500 other, and I'm over here like, why? But hey, now this correlates perfectly well with it because it has so many criminals and so many crimes, and the jail system, the prisons there are packed and filled with criminals. So
You guys, if you have the chance, tell us what's going on with Texas. Why? Just tell us what's going on with Texas.
please, I know Texas is big and all, but just
Come on.
so it says California, Florida are and Alabama, besides Texas, have the largest death row populations. California, Florida, Texas, and Alabama. We all can know why Alabama.
Come on.
California.
Mhm. Because
California, I would understand why too. The homeless population there too, and the crimes that goes on there is also a huge number that plays into this too. You
yeah.
know, and everybody that knows about Florida, I don't have to say anything.
Mm.
We know.
Yeah. Well,
Uh, And I have two more statistics. It says prison on death row in the U.S. tend to be men. Only 2% of those on death row in the U.S. were women as of December 19. In the United States, the death penalty is authorized by 32 states and the federal government. And this is as of June 9, 2021. So this has been updated. So still 32 states. As of April 1st, though, 2021, the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund said there were 51 women on death row across the United States. That's a little number. Way too many, but
it's you got a point. But just like I was telling you last time we had this conversation, keep in mind, women aren't always viewed as killers.
oh yeah.
Children are not viewed as killers. That's why if you do not see a lot of individuals who are underaged or who are women in death row, it is because of that a 10-year-old killing 3 people? Nah, that doesn't make sense. A woman killing 50 people? Nah, she couldn't. She was so nice. Everyone knew about her. Everyone knew how sweet she was. She came to work all nice, gave muffins. No, it's it has that not necessarily a bias, but it has that it's like I'm feeling that taste of that person's young, that person that their mind is underdeveloped, so they can't there's certain things they can't do. They'll fight and probably hurt someone mindlessly because oh, I'm protecting myself, or oh, I'm showing my machismo, or the woman is like she probably did something in self-defense, or she couldn't have done it because she's so nurturing. Everyone knows that she's so motherly. That's
Right.
why those type of numbers would be lower than men, which most people would say, oh, men is aggressive, men do this, men do that, when the numbers could very well be even. It's just, how can you catch a person that's so nurturing?
Right, like we spoke before, the serial killer gene has been scientifically studied to see like sociopaths. Like adults who start killing animals when they're children are sociopaths. Children who are killing animals are gonna become sociopaths and gonna become adults who will start moving on to bigger bodies, meaning starting killing people. So that's another thing that we cannot know for sure about a child, you know. But if you see a kid deliberately go and murder, like just flat out kill a duck, a cat, or whatever with no remorse and they don't feel anything, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to start being worried about that child. There's something wrong with them, you know. And
Because eventually, if it's not looked after, it could be situations where, like like those two girls who killed that girl because of, what was it, that Slender Man? One of them didn't have remorse, the other one seemed to have had remorse, but it's like you need to catch certain things quickly or else it would lead to youth committing the act that could have been prevented of them killing that person.
just
There's
like
no telling if they're going to do it when they're adults, but at least, find the signs that, are you okay? Is there something going on? Don't ignore that there's something up, because the more you ignore it, the more likeliness that child, them and a friend or a group of them, may end up going around talking about, okay, let's kill this homeless man.
right.
What? How is that a good thing to do on a Saturday night? That does not make any sense.
Just like what they say about women, oh, she was mentally unstable. And I'm like, not necessarily has to be true for her to be a killer, to want to purposefully murder somebody and methodically plan it out. But they always use as that excuse that women, women presenting are mentally unstable, and therefore that's going to cause them to commit a crime. Not necessarily true. Some are born killers too. But like you
Mhm.
said, the numbers are so far and few in between that catching a woman or saying, oh, she did it, or like when a man is reporting abuse, that the woman is, abusing them, they're not gonna believe them because it's so unheard of. But it's not likely. It is. It's a thing. It happens sporadic, but it happens.
It does.
It's crazy. Sometimes it's just the for me personally, I think the government has to reevaluate the ways that they do things and make sure that whatever methods they use is it works.
There has to be more than one way of thinking, or at least a unique way of thinking, because to honestly, oh, my wife is beating me, hurting me, and it's like, dude, you're 5'9", you weigh 200. Like, man up. That makes no sense to say to anyone. Makes no sense to say. And then something happens to that person or the person dies, you'll probably think, oh, he probably killed himself, when there's a chance he was murdered by the same person that he told you is harming him. So there are things that, yes, we need to understand that old way of thinking. There's some benefits and there's some things that, it's not working. You can't
Exactly.
just stick to that same old mentality and thinking, I'm gonna, with this mentality, I'm gonna catch fish and I'm gonna catch more fish, when that's not true.
That's why when different detectives or different people look at a cold case from a different like new eyes, they find different things. And they
Yes,
realize, oh my God, they never tested for this, or they never tested for that, or this got missed in 1930s or 1940s or 1960s, and look, now is early to the 2000s, and we're able to, do something new with it, and we caught the killer. You're
exactly.
right.
We put
They,
the new information together, and
and like I mentioned earlier, the new technology also helps. Um, with the new detectives and their new pair of eyes and new technology, solve a cold case. I don't know about you, but I get super happy when I see that a cold case got solved because I'm like,
Me
Now they go
too.
now they could finally rest in peace after 40, 35 years. Like,
Or the family and friends who had to in go through the things that they went through. One, they went through a loss. The second thing is who did it?
it's crazy. Don't you have like some facts to share with us about stuff?
I have 10 facts that I found in Pew research.org. The 10 facts about the death penalty. Hope you guys are ready. It says 6 in 10 United States adults strongly or somewhat favor the death penalty for convicted murderers. Second, a majority of Americans have concerns about the fairness of the death penalty and whether it serves as a deterrent against serious crimes. I remember when I went to school, this one was a biggie because we would always, well, most of the students would always, I guess, butt heads. Like, okay, I get that this person killed this person, but it's not black and white. Like, we can't just say, I'm going to give you the death penalty because you killed. Killing doesn't always mean, okay, you murdered, you go die. Why did you murder that person? Was there a reason? Did you intentionally murder that person? Did the person come into your home? Did the person attack you? It was a whole lot of stuff in class. Third, opinions about the death penalty varied by party, education, race, and ethnicity. It does. Support for the death penalty is consistently higher in online polls than in phone polls. I'm guessing for that online, people, when they take a survey, it's like, I think they deserve the death penalty. But then when they're on the phone talking with someone, it's like, but why do you think they deserve the death penalty? Because the person is asking you or trying to get in your mind space. No pun intended, not my space, but in your mind to understand why you feel the way you feel. Phone polls have shown a long-term decline in public support for death penalty. Let's see. I think this is number 8. A majority of states have the death penalty. Sorry, 7. Death penalty, but far fewer use it regularly. 8. Death sentence have steadily decreased in recent decades, meaning, how, of course, we do have the death penalty. Have we been hearing, okay, there's an execution today. There's an execution tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like in the past, they would let you know, okay, this week we have one on Monday, we have 2 on Tuesday, we have 3 on Friday. It's not like that. Annual executions are far below their peak level. And the last one is the average time between sentencing and execution in the United States has increased sharply since the 1980s. In other words, instead of a person waiting 2 days, 5 years, 7 years, there is a chance a person could wait 20 or maybe even 45 years in death row.
That is crazy. The fact that you are in jail, mind you, we're the ones paying for their stay at this very glorious place, prison, jail. For them to then, after 45 years, might as well just give them a life if they're gonna be waiting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's at the point where it's almost like, why do you call it death row? And you're scaring the person into thinking they're going to die. So should you put them in death row? If you're going to put the person in death row, you have evidence. You got everything you need. Nothing was lost. Nothing was tainted. You got every single thing you need to say, yeah, this person got to go, versus have them there 25 years, 50 years. Taxpayers pay for this. No one is being refunded when the person dies of natural causes. No one is being refunded if the person stays longer than 20 years. You're not refunding anybody. So I feel like in terms of the death penalty, they have to be more more solid, more on point,
Right.
because one, money is involved and it's being taken from the people. And I understand there are crimes warranted of the death penalty. But if you have a slither of a doubt that that person's not supposed to be there, don't put them where they're not supposed to be. That's
Right.
not good for their health, because you mess the person up. One, two, you're using the taxpayers' money for that. Don't do that.
No, obviously, but this is why it takes so long, because of the appeals. Them trying to be like, no, let's give
I,
them a different sentence. Let's give them a
I
different outcome.
I totally get that. It's just I don't know if it's the fact that the reason why some stay in death row, because it's like there's a difference between saying death row and then going down to life
Right.
versus saying I give a person life and then switching it to death row. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that's the reason why death row is like, oh, okay, you have a death sentence. That could be switched to something else versus if I give you life, I may not be able to switch you to death row.
Right. What are the other methods of execution in the United States?
In the United States, we have hanging, electric chair, gas chamber, firing squad, which to me I actually thought we didn't have or stopped using, and lethal injection. There is the bonus of beheading, but I don't know if it's United States. I think that's probably within other countries. But between firing squad, which I thought wasn't in the United States, and beheading that's a kicker. But yeah, those are the five that canceling out the beheading part. Those are the
Right.
five that are still being used within the United States.
The fact that hanging, to me, you were shocked about the firing squad. To me, was the hanging part. I'm like, is this a witch trials again? Well, then again, Alabama has a whole ass history about hanging, so I don't know. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter what year we're in, what decade, whatever we're in. There are certain things that are just gonna be used over and over and over again.
The firing squad, it got me because the thing is, I mean, sorry that I'm using movie references, but when I see it in a movie, I'm thinking that looks like something that could only be done in movies or something that happened way long ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, back in the day, they used to do this, this, and this. So I'm like, okay, we graduated. Really? They use they changed the methods of death penalty so that it could be more humane. More humane. This is the reason why they came up with certain stuff like lethal injection for it to be more humane. Telling someone, okay, I'm going to put you in front of a firing squad and we're going to, I don't know. Does that sound humane to you?
Well, it
Like
doesn't.
you guys, you let me know too, but does that sound humane to you?
Well, neither one sound humane to me
No,
because
it doesn't. It's just
the lethal injection caused somebody a heart attack and they were dying and suffering because of that. The lethal injection is supposed to just make you go slowly to sleep. But they ended up having a fucking heart attack and now they're suffering. So how ethical or humane can anything be when you're taking someone else's life? Again, I am, life is precious, it matters, and some people, I mean, who am I to say some people don't deserve to be alive? I'm no one. But if you're gonna do it and they start getting a heart attack in the middle of their execution, what now?
I mean, for me, I've never been for the death penalty. However, whenever I would hear a case, because some cases are very, very strange, I do understand why they would say this warrants the death penalty.
Right.
The only thing is, when you say the death penalty, it's not like these acts are being done in an empty room. Someone is playing witness to all of these acts. Like when the sentence is given, and then, okay, It's happening at 6:30 p.m. today. Someone saw that. They have to see that, witness that. So, of course, it's different from saying, okay, we're going to do it in public. It's 6:30. Everybody show up if you want to. Don't show up if you don't want to. But I'm just saying, it's not being watched. That person is not by themselves. They have witnesses. I'm not going cold turkey alone. Like, they're a pair of eyes. So it's
Sometimes,
still intense.
sometimes they have their family members right there watching.
They do.
I mean, some prisoners get to choose the method they want to go depending on the state they're in. Like,
Mm.
for example, Washington has lethal injection, but unless the inmate requests hanging, then they will do that. California, they have lethal injection as well, but if the inmate requests like lethal gas, they could do that.
Mm.
So it just depends on the state that they're in, but I think it's usually lethal injection that you know will be
Honestly, I
the
thought everyone was just using lethal injection or the chair,
right. Me too.
one
That's
or
what
the other. But to say that we have all five methods, I didn't, or that you have the choice of, I just thought if they told you, gas is gas, that's it. You don't have a choice.
right.
But I mean, I guess, depending on what state you're in, granted, you
Yeah,
have a point. If you were in a certain state that's like, you know what, you're going to go
like Texas.
regardless. You can try to, you could choose the method, but we still gotta do this.
And we don't hate Texas. Just letting y'all know, we love Texas. It's just the legal system there is
I would
too.
like to go to Texas myself. It's just, I just want to understand what's going on over there. I'm just saying.
Right.
But the idea, I seriously thought is only two, or if it's not gas and lethal, just lethal, you know, because again, the idea of, oh, more humane, till this day they'll still be, we're trying to do more humane, because other parts of the world are either sticking to what they got or they're trying to do more humane too. So it's like, if a place said, oh, beheading in one century, they may change it up, we're hanging, but the death penalty is the death penalty. It's either we still got to wait it out and be like, okay, is it rather, do we do more humane, or do we figure out, do we really need this method at all to
Right.
prevent these crimes from happening in our locations?
I agree. I mean, if they get rid of the death penalty, then just give them life.
But if we give life, keep in mind, are we making our prisons larger for more space?
Oh, of course, but I mean, if you release all those prisoners that are there for weed, then yes, you can. Hey, my argument might be weak, but I'm just saying, though there's plenty of room there for the actual people that are sociopath, psychopath, um, murderers, rapists. I believe those are the people that need to serve their time in prison, but that's just me. There's more to that because the prison system, like I believe in rehabilitation, but depends on the person, depends on what they did, depends on the crime, you see?
I
So
agree. I mean, there's certain individuals, like for example, in the past, a rapist could be given the death penalty. That was taken off quite a while ago. Now, a rapist could be given the death penalty, but I believe, and I know that rapist will only be given the death penalty if he killed someone, not because of the rape, if he killed someone.
right, because of the murder, yeah.
If you did not kill someone, but you raped someone, of course you will be given time, depending on the act, how brutal, how whatever the situation may be. It depends on the what you did. That I understand. But to me, it's on a it depends basis.
Right.
All of it is on a it depends what you did basis.
Well, we're getting to the time of the show. Let's continue. I do have a 411 with Chuby. For 411 with Chuby, right? I have one link that will take you everywhere. It's called deathpenaltyinfo.org. It has the State Department of Corrections, and you can look at each state's history. You can look at a list of death, the road inmates, case histories, and upcoming executions. So you go there, you go for wherever state you're in that has obviously whatever you're looking for, and all the information is there. That's why I only have one link, because this provides literally everything, like anything you're looking for in your state. So that is it for 411 with Chuby. Deathpenaltyinfo.org. Let me know if you guys go check it out and how it goes.
All
That
right.
is it for that. You want to go do quotey quotes?
Yes, please. Hear me out, you guys. There are a few quotes that I have. I
Okay.
think I have one for, against, and the other one if I feel it's a bit on the unique side.
Okay, here we go.
The reality is that capital punishment in America is a lottery. It is a punishment that is shaped by the constraints of poverty, race, geography, and local politics. Brian Stevenson.
Hmm. Unique perspective. Is this one going against or for?
I'm not too sure.
But no, I get it, because poverty and race and geography and the location always plays a huge part of what's happening in the jail systems.
Yeah.
Again, we go back to the whole drug stuff, because of people are selling drugs, and the race, and a lot of shootouts and things like that. I agree.
We should forgive our enemies, but not before they are hanged. Joe Abercrombie said this.
I mean, I guess he felt some type of way. We should forgive our enemies, but not before they're hanged. I mean, I guess forgive them, but they still need to pay for what they did.
Yeah, I'm ill. That's just so. The individuals that are for the death penalty, hey, you have your reasons. But dang, that one, yeah, actually, I understand your point of view. Yeah, because it does make sense. Like, I understand that person did something they shouldn't have done. I want to forgive him or forgive her or forgive that person. But you can't be excused. Yeah, that makes sense. Next quote. Can the state, which represents the whole state and has the duty of protecting society, fulfill that duty by lowering itself to the level of the murderer and treating him as he treats others? The forfeiture of life is too absolute, too irreversible for one human being to inflict in it on another, even when backed by legal process. Kofi Annan said this.
That was a whole mouthful.
I know, but I like long quotes.
No, no, no. That quote was important, but it's true.
It just should we it's like the eye for an eye thing.
Mm-hmm.
You break my arm, I break your arm. Now keep in mind, a person can say I'll break your arm, you broke my arm. However, if I only broke this part of your arm and you went after my whole arm,
Right.
everyone's concept of an eye for an eye differs.
Right.
So it's like you saying, okay, he murdered, I murdered, but then he murdered this person as in quick death and then you torture him.
Right.
Really? Is that an eye for an eye for real? Or are you doing it based on justice or revenge? It differs. And this one says death row is a nightmare to serial killers and axe murderers. For an innocent man, it is life of mental torture that the human spirit is not equipped to survive. John Grisham said this.
That's interesting. Now I was just reading it because I'm over here like, what is it saying? It's like you have to break down the quote. The death row is a nightmare to serial killers and axe murderers. For an innocent man, is a life of mental torture. That is true, though. I was reading that a lot of inmates do suffer a great deal of mental health issues. They're in there, they only have an hour of daylight, and they're not treated as well as people think. Um, they do exercise, they're in their cell, but most of the time they're just handcuffed. And it's like, granted, not every place is the same. If you're not in death row, obviously, if you're in the jail, you get to like read, or you have certain privileges, but in the death row there's nothing for you to do.
And again, it's death row. You know that you are going to meet your end eventually. It's like you're counting down, basically. If not
It-
today, because they put me in today, it could be tomorrow.
well,
But
yeah.
that's you saying it's tomorrow, 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 every single day.
And that's if you have an actual date, because some will not give you, they you don't have.
Exactly. Some don't have the date. And for the ones that do have the date, of course, they're waiting on that day. But for the
Right.
one you don't have a date, it's like being in a movie. Tomorrow, 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 today in the afternoon? What? That's panic mode.
Right. Well, to everybody watching this, what did you guys, I don't know, feel, think about death row, the capital punishment?
Do you believe that we should talking in terms of, well, depending where you are, do you believe that your play where you're at, should you have it? Do you have it? Do you care about it at all? Like, how do you feel and what do you think about the
And if
death
your
penalty in general?
and if your state doesn't have it, do you want it? Do
Ah,
you think is right? Again, this all comes down to this: is this ethically correct, morally correct? Is this inhumane, humane? Is it fair? Um,
does this really provide a sense of justice at all?
right, 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 exactly. That too. Do you have any final thoughts?
Although I do not believe in the death penalty, and I do understand why death sentences are handed out, regardless if I think it's fair or not. I do believe that the idea of death row, the death penalty, it should be relooked. Please don't have a man that's not supposed to be on death row stay on death row for 20 years. If you really don't know what's going on with it, you might as well throw him in life, or at least have something else, add something, because there's always a little bit of things being tweaked within the justice system. So if that's the case, let's keep looking, let's keep adding, let's keep doing what we got to do so that we can make sure justice is being done in each and every case, rather than, you know what, let's just put him in death row. We put him in death row. What's the worst that could happen? If he's innocent, he gets out. That's whatever. No, it's not whatever. Mental health plays a count. That person was in prison. Will the person be able to work? How would you be able to compensate this individual? How can you compensate this person's family? You change this person's whole world around. Will that person go into crime? I don't know. So I feel like there has to be, people need to look on it, make some tweaks. Let's really analyze this situation to make sure, are we doing the right thing? If we're talking about a more humane way of doing anything in terms of the justice system, should we keep it? Should we tweak it? Should we leave it?
Totally agree. I agree. the legal justice system needs to reevaluate the laws that they have implemented, and they need to see what fits. Because remember, they have some laws that are so old that they don't even have anything to do with our dates and times. They need to upgrade it.
That's true.
But my final thoughts on this is that make sure you have every single evidence to actually, bring a sentence to the prisoner, to whoever is
Mhm.
being executed, whatever the case is. Make sure that this was fairly done, and be like, yes, every single evidence that I have does say that this crime was committed by this person. Whether I am 50-50 on this, on the death penalty, I don't know. But I don't think a man, a person, anybody should die unfairly just because you thought that the evidence was pointing to them when in reality it wasn't, you know, and reevaluate it. Like you said, if they give a death sentence to a person, just make sure that you catch it on time so then you can reduce the sentence and do it as fast as you can. Because if this person is on death row and then you realize that he's no longer um, guilty, and you don't do what you can in your power to change the verdict again, things could be gone terrible because the guy's already on death row and he got executed and it was a day too late. Just
Mhm.
make sure all the evidence is there. That's all I'm saying. Make sure there's evidence, actual substantial evidence to commit, to blame, to whatever the person that's guilty. Other than that, you are failing. The system is failing. That's it.
There you go.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the episode with Angel and I hope that you guys have your own questions and you do your own research, and you guys just don't don't settle for less, information wise. Keep looking, keep digging. And if you're for it, okay, what do you want to do for with it? If you're against it, what can you do to change the system,
Or at least what do you think could be done?
right?
If there's anything that could be done, or is there any hope for it at all?
Exactly. If you have any questions, any comments, concern, you know what to do. Leave a comment below. Send us a DM, email. Do they still use email? Just do whatever you need to do to reach us, and we'll get back to you. And like we always say, stay fearless, everyone.
Good night. Stay beautiful.